Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wine with Jimmy channel and another series here looking at the WSET Level 3 course. This is called the Noble Nine on the key grape varieties found for the Level 3. And we're going to be looking here at the series that tests your knowledge. So please do utilize this as a test and mark yourselves. This is part 5 looking at Cabernet Sauvignon. So the Noble Nine are the most important grape varieties for the WSET Level 3. They are heavily featured in your text. They are featured in depth in the winemaking chapters 8 and 9, and then, of course, repeatedly through the country and regions of origin through the textbook. For this reason, of course, with their heavy feature, is a very high probability of a short written question in your ever important examination. So these are really useful in terms of recapping your knowledge and preparing you for the challenging examination. So we are going to, of course, look at Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, this video, along with the Riesling video, is available as free content available on the world of YouTube. All the other parts, that's 2 to 4 and 6 to 9, are only available on my e-learning portal, which is over at www.winewithjimmy.com. So lots of exclusive video content to really help you with your studies, and also ad-free. Okay, so we're going to go through some multiple choice questions and then some short written questions. Please, throughout this, pause the video to see if you can come up with your answer, and then I'll take you through the answer, mark your own as best as you can to see how you do. If you have any comments or questions, please do get in touch by commenting on this video below. So first up, we are going to talk about some multiple choice questions just to ease us in before we go into the written questions. Cabernet Sauvignon is usually destemmed and crushed as it enters the winery. Is this true or is this false? Of course, we are looking at true because Cabernet has a real thick skin ratio. You're going to get lots of structure and tannin already, and one does not need to have the stem. So it is much more likely to be destemmed and crushed. So this is true. Next up, which of the following are correct for Coonawarra in Australia? So this is Coonawarra, which is one of my go-to words to really get me into speaking in Australian accent, Coonawarra. So what do we got here? Now, these questions, I've always mentioned this, they look a bit complicated on the outset, but in fact, because there are combinations, they're actually easier to eliminate. And it should be nice and easy to come up with the answer. So we're talking about Coonawarra in Australia. First of all, cloud cover. Now, I'll get my marker out here because I'm going to get rid of the answers which we don't need because they will be incorrect. So cloud cover moderates the summer temperatures. In this part of South Australia, this is correct. It is one of the benefits, so we will keep that one. Second part, it is found in Victoria. It's not. There are the 3 major parts of southeastern Australia: New South Wales, Victoria, and then South Australia. We find Coonawarra nestled right into the southern part of South Australia. So we're going to put a line through that one. It is influenced by Atlantic cold currents. Yes, it is actually not perfectly on the coast. It's a little bit inland, but still will experience those Atlantic cold currents, which can moderate the area. And vineyards are grown on terra rossa soils. These are means red earth. It is a reddish clay, which is often on top of limestone. And here it's actually very famous for the region. So we are left with 1, 3, and 4, which gives us the answer, of course, of B. Number 3, what temperature range is Cabernet Sauvignon typically fermented at? So, of course, this was all mentioned in the video from the first series. And we are looking at, remember, red wines generally at sort of early 20s and above. So really, initially, straight away, you can get rid of this top one because it's just a little bit too cold. Now, Cabernet doesn't need to be heavily extracted in comparison to other varieties like Shiraz, for example. So 30 to 32 is certainly a little bit on the intense side. So we're left, therefore, with 22 to 26 and 26 to 30. Now, being a black variety, you are typically going to be looking at the latter end of this. So there you are. C is your answer here. 26 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius. And the final multiple choice question, what aromas are typical of a Bordeaux left bank commune? Now, you've got quite a few things there. In fact, every one of these answers includes a primary and a secondary. So one thing we know about Cabernet Sauvignon, as a standalone grape variety, it is black fruited. So we certainly can get rid of this one that said red plum, blue fruit here, this one as well. So you're left with these two. And of course, we know that blackcurrant is very classic of Cabernet and cedar as a secondary characteristic, which is very typical of the left bank communes. Commune, by the way, a word meaning one of the villages like Saint-Estèphe, Saint-Julien, Pauillac, or Margaux. So D is our answer. Okay, well, talking about communes, here is a label of a commune of the left bank of Bordeaux, Chateau Martin, Saint-Estèphe. Now, this wine is from a moderate climate and is mostly made from Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's given you an introduction. How is Cabernet Sauvignon able to reliably ripen here? Here meaning Saint-Estèphe, left bank Bordeaux, which is fairly moderate maritime climate. Now, we need viticultural aspects here in order to help ripening. We know that Cabernet Sauvignon is late ripening. So the high stone and gravel content of the soils raises vineyard temperatures, allowing for the ripening, successful ripening of the late ripening Cabernet Sauvignon. 3 marks available there. If it's not obvious, I often highlight to see where the kind of main points are being made there for your marks. Question 7. How could a difficult vintage, which experiencing poorer weather, affect the style of this wine? So a bad vintage, how does that poor weather affect the style of this wine? As Cabernet Sauvignon can struggle to ripen because it is a late ripener, the wine could show astringent or unripe tannins. Astringent mean quite green, quite bitter, and herbaceous flavors. You don't have to really put such as green pepper, but why not? Give an example. It gives you a more complete answer. So I've added that in for good measure there. You could have put something else as well, like tomato leaf or another green characteristic. Question 8, moving away from Bordeaux, Napa Valley in California produces world-class premium Cabernet Sauvignon, often as a single varietal. For each of the following sub-AVAs, within Napa that means, state and explain 2 key natural factors that affects the vineyards of the specific AVA. So with Howell Mountain AVA, what in the vineyard can help shape the climate of that area? Howell Mountain AVA, Calistoga AVA. Well, for 4 marks, Howell Mountain, the vineyards lie above the fog layer, being cooled by their altitude. That gives you 2 marks. Being mostly west-facing, because they are on the eastern side, on the Vaca mountain range, they get full exposure to the hot afternoon sun. 4 marks there, so 2 marks for each of those sentences. Calistoga AVA. Well, Calistoga vineyards are cooled by air funneling through the Chalk Hill Gap, which comes through Sonoma, and there is greater diurnal range helping retain acidities. 2 sentences, 2 marks for each there, 4 marks in total. Okay, so that might seem quite in detail for you. This is the information you need to know. Okay. So basically, you have those two AVAs, a mountain AVA, it has a high altitude, and Calistoga, we have more of a less of an altitude area, but in the northern part of Napa. Question 9. Cabernet Sauvignon is often a very astringent variety in its youth. Green, bitter, structured. Explain 2 methods a winemaker can employ to create a more ready-to-drink wine. So we're thinking about methodology which we can help sort of reduce that intensity of Cabernet and soften it out. Method 1 is looking at blending. So blending other grape varieties such as Merlot, which famously it is blended with, that are lower in tannin and acidity to help soften Cabernet's astringency. Very classic method. Method 2, utilizing post-fermentation methods such as longer maceration, which we call post-maceration, or oak barrels and barriques for maturation to soften the tannin. It might add complexities, but helps round out the wine, of course. 2 marks for each of those 2 methods, giving you a total of 4 marks. Question 10, and our final question. State and explain why one area of New Zealand is particularly well suited to Cabernet Sauvignon and other black varieties. There really is only one answer here for New Zealand, which really ticks the whole boxes of that sentence. And that area is Hawke's Bay's Gimblett Gravels. Now, you could have both. You could just put Hawke's Bay, they would be lenient in that instance, and you could put Gimblett Gravels, or you can put down both if you want. Both are acceptable. Gimblett Gravels is found, remember, within Hawke's Bay. The reasoning behind this is that this is a parcel of well-drained, heat-absorbing gravel soil on the valley floor that can help ripen the late ripening Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, some of you may have just put Hawke's Bay, and it doesn't necessarily have the gravel soils because that's Gimblett Gravels, hence the etymology. So you probably put something like Hawke's Bay because it is one of the warmer and drier areas. Now that's okay. The warmer will get you a mark. I don't think you'll get the mark for saying drier because it's not necessarily that important. So you'll probably get 2 marks out of 3 by that approach. So for me, the important thing here is Gimblett Gravels because you've then got 2 things to say about it. The gravel itself that helps ripen, of course, late ripening Cabernet Sauvignon. Well, please do add up your marks. It's out of 25, as always. A pass is 14, a merit is 17, and a distinction is 20. Please let me know how you have done. Put it in the comments section if you want to share your knowledge. If you don't want to give your exact mark, you can always say, I passed, or I got a merit, or maybe I got a distinction, and be all smarmy about it. But please do get in touch. If you do have any other comments or questions, of course, please do get in touch as well by that comment section. Please do join me for the next video on Merlot, going through questions that may be asked of you around this grape variety as always. But this grape variety video, along with all of the ones up to 9, so 6 to 9 plus 2 to 4, are only available on my e-learning portal over at www.winewithjimmy.com. Well, I've been Jimmy Smith. Thank you very much for your time and see you soon. Ciao for now.